introduction from others first, and then we'll end with you, Claudio, and then we'll continue with you on the. So Atul sir, please, a small introduction from your side.
Hi, Vishal. Hi, I'm Claudio and everybody else. My name is Atul Kumar, and I'm based in Bay Area, California, and run a company, Ren Ventures, and few non-profits in the area of connecting startups. That's what I do. Thank you.
Naman.
Hi, everyone. My name is Naman Shyam Sukha. I am currently a student pursuing my ACCA UK. Thank you.
Thank you. Aritra.
Well, hello everyone, my name is Aritra Mukherjee. Right now I'm pursuing BBA at Entrepreneurship and my dream is to start my own business. Thank you.
Thank you. Kamal ma'am.
Hi, I'm Kamal. I'm working with LWT as Executive Advisor.
Thank you. Preeti. Preeti, you have met while coming in this breakout room.
Hello everyone, I am Preeti Agarwal, pursuing BMS Media Science, and I am from Kolkata, working with LWT as an operational manager.
Thank you. Okay, so Claudio, I know for 6-7 years now, and we were working. I mean, he was working for one of our clients a few years ago, and then he started his company, and after maybe 1 or 2 years, I also started my own company. So we both are in this startup world. So that's where I thought that, maybe we should invite him also for our Friday night out and share some things that are common to us as well as uncommon to us, because we are from 2 different countries and rules of startups, starting a business might not be very similar. Something similar. And so, Claudio, please, a small introduction and very initial from a corporate to business, how that decision came to your mind. Please elaborate on that very story, please.
Yeah, it's not a longer dream that we came true at a certain point. It's more a matter of opportunity and deciding to leave the big corporate world and starting something. And my career before creating a company was essentially in large multinational corporations. So I started actually in the university in Italy, and then I joined a major oil field service company, which is Schlumberger, so one of the largest oil field service companies in the world. And I started moving a bit around the world in different offices for this company, working essentially in the R&D. So it's a very dynamic, very fast professional life, working with international clients and moving different countries, learning a lot, meeting lots of people from different places, and learning how to work in this type of environment, which is very exciting, very dynamic, but still constrained by rules and directions that are decided by someone else. And it's on the service side. So for quite a long time, I've been mainly a contractor, so providing services to clients, business clients. So, and our clients used to be very large corporations in the energy sector. And then for personal reasons, I resigned and I joined one of our clients. So at the time it was one of the clients, and it's a large energy company. It's a large French multinational, super major energy company, which is Total. And it's a completely different way of working, because these large clients, they are extremely good at managing projects, managing large projects, working with many different contractors, analyzing the processes and splitting them in tasks, and finding contractors to do each of the different steps. They are very good in planning. They are very good in managing their finances. They are very good at finding contractors. They're finding the contracts and getting things done. But it's a completely different perspective, because you don't have the same need of being a service focused that you have when you are a contractor. And then I worked for Total for a few years, and it's when I met Vishal, So he was my contractor at that time. He did a very good work, by the way. And so after a few years with Total, I decided to leave. And at that time, it wasn't really clear what I would do. I was looking at different things, and then when I decided to create a company, a startup, initially I was very focused on creating some products in a very specific domain, which is geophysics, and in particular in data processing and in seismic processing. And I had my background, which is a research background. I have a PhD in geophysics, and then I worked for a contractor, then I worked for a client. But I was still at the time very much focused on the technology itself, on the mechanics of getting things and getting projects done, and on certain specific aspects on which I have a specific expertise. I know how to develop tools and modules that can improve what is done today. They can do it faster and better. And so I was really thinking products, and I started reading and studying books about technology developments and startups, and how to run a company, and then finance, and then accounting, and then HR, and then communication. So things that it's like you get into a totally new world with a million facets that you don't even imagine when you live and you work in a large company where things are much more structured and organized. But so it was also a very specific moment, a very interesting moment, because it's a very big downturn for the energy industry that lasts now since 6 years. There have always been big cycles, so upturns with lots of projects, huge investments, need of getting things done fast, lack of resources from the contractors, and then all of a sudden a big crash where no one is spending any money, projects are stopped, lots of people are laid off. So I started a company just when the downturn started. So I found myself in a situation where, well, I had ideas and things that could be developed to make things better or faster. But it was clear that it was a very difficult moment to invest, develop a product, and roll it out, and push it to the market, and sell it, and make revenues to make things work. And also, one specific thing of what we do is that we work with data that are not easily accessible. It's common to many other startups, because you have an idea, you know how to do something, but you need a certain number of, for example, sources of data before you can prove your solution. For us, it's that the data that we work with are confidential data, proprietary data of our clients, and you can't just get them anywhere. So it's difficult to get a solution, prove it, push it to the market if you don't get this data. So having a service activity in parallel with the development is needed for many reasons. And for us, it was, well, we need the data to be able to test things and show that they work. We need the data, and we need the problems from the clients to be able to produce something relevant that has a real use, as a real market. And we need the data and the service to fund the operations. Otherwise, it's a very long development phase, which is common to many startups who use different models where you get funding and you do all this, you lose money for a while until you finally take off, and then you become profitable, and you can create value and grow your value and valuation even if you lose money. But for us, it was a bit difficult, because in a downturn, if you look for funding in a sector which is in a crisis, it will be very, very difficult. So we started saying, okay, we have a solution, and we just sell it, we just embed it in our projects as a way of solving problems for clients, even if they don't care that we are doing something different. Or so we started, marketing services and looking for clients and selling services without particularly saying that we were doing things using ways and methods and workflows and technologies that are different from what other contractors are doing. And so it's a slightly different model from the ones of many other startups, but we managed to get clients. And the other thing which we have done, I think, in a different ways, that from the very beginning, I started chasing projects of different scales, small projects, very small projects, which turn very quickly, so they can be completed fast, they can be paid quickly, and the large projects that give you more visibility, but also trying to find a mix of projects where you have a bit less exposure to certain, standards and specifications, with small clients who are doing maybe non-conventional things and they need someone who can adapt, but also small projects in which we can train people quickly. And we started hiring people and training them on certain types of projects, so that they can grow their technical expertise. And then after, it's quite slow in our industry. It takes years before you can be a technical reference in a larger contractor. But things are going really fast. So one guy was hired 3 years ago. He worked on more than 50 projects, which is something that in a large contractor takes maybe 10 years or more. So things have been moving quickly. And the other thing that we have done in quite an unconventional way is trying to integrate the entire set of services that we have to provide in our industry, working with partners rather than trying to integrate everything. It's a sort of external growth without buying other companies, because we didn't have any financial strength at the time to buy other companies, of course. But we started creating alliances with other small companies, some startups and some just small consultancies, which were very active. They developed technologies and they were a bit less experienced in the industry, and they had less contacts to be able to sell things. And we created a very strong network of small companies that are working together. And this is quite unique in our industry. We now can offer very complete services, very integrated services, working with partners. And the other strange thing is that since we shared a certain common vision and way of working, we started working based on very informal contracts, and trust and a handshake is what we used with some of the partners. We worked together since 5 years, and we never signed a contract. We just chase project together. We say, you do that, we do this, and we prepare, for example, the tenders for them. And if they win the project, we are their subcontractors in certain cases. In other cases, we offer the entire solution, and then they work as our subcontractors. And this has been done in a very informal way. And it's something that certain companies we work with would never do, because they need a very formal framework, contractual framework to start working. And one of the things that has been exciting and very positive about this change of life is also that, well, you can decide lots of things. I mean, it's not the story about how wonderful it is being your own boss, because we all know that it's much harder, and you have to fight for everything. So it's that when you find someone you like to work with, you can do it, and you can choose your partners based on if you like them or not, if you get along together well or not. And now we are at a point where probably the most natural way of moving forward will be doing a merger and saying, okay, well, we know there are 3 partners that we work together on many projects. Let's just create a new entity, a new co, where everyone is. It's something that we are discussing, but it's not even needed. It's needed just if you want to have an exit now, and you say, okay, let's just consolidate things. But so it's an experience that, as you all know, challenges you completely, because you need to you need to put more than 100% of your energy and effort to get things done and to pass all the inevitable tough moments that you have. But it's something where you can really realize the craziest idea that you might have. And so it's 5 years now that the company was created. Now the downturn is still not over, and we have been doing a crazy effort in diversifying our activities, looking for other industries that need our services, even without pushing it too far and saying that actually, yes, we are very good with data. We are very good at extracting information from data. So we could probably do something completely different. We could move to any other field where data are used today for any application. We are staying in a very technical engineering set of applications, but we started from an oil and gas and energy experience, and we started moving into infrastructures. We worked on nuclear power stations. We looked for geothermal projects, and we have done a lot of geothermal projects. We've been able to find solutions where we are much faster and much cheaper than the conventional way of doing things. And even without advertising it very much, we found clients, and the best satisfaction is when you do a project with a client and you know that they have other projects, and they tell you at the end, I want to sign a frame contract with you. I want to work with you. I want to have a guarantee that you will work with me for the next 3 years. That's something that, I mean, when you start a company, you start a business, is a very good situation, because it gives you visibility and it allows you to plan, to invest, to plan your resources. And we have been using new technologies from the beginning, using, of course, video conferencing, but also from the beginning we have been very flexible in terms of managing the working hours and allowing remote working. We started using web solutions and applications for many different things. We subcontracted almost everything which is not core. So all the people that are on payroll are technical people doing technical work, doing data processing, being trained to do data processing and segment processing. We subcontracted from the beginning all the finance, accounting, communication, everything. So, which is something that in the beginning, of course, it's, I mean, not from the very beginning. I mean, certain things like on the communication side, we did it because it's extremely technical. So we need to provide all the content anyway. But all the functions that you have in a company that are not core, we started subcontracting from the beginning, finding partners, some larger, very, very reliable, very well-known partners. Like, for example, our books and our finance is KPMG, one of the largest companies doing this type of service in the world. But for example, we have someone helping in tracking and all the invoices and doing all the financial forecasts, and is a contractor who is doing it as a freelance. And all the IT. So we need to be to have lots of IT skills. We work with a supercomputer. We don't work with Windows systems, so everything is in Linux. So you need people who are able to work with systems that are not what you use in everyday life. And we have to develop our own solutions. We need to code and use and script certain things. So this is done in-house, but it's really our core activity. Everything else is subcontracted. For example, HPC, high performance computer, we found an integrator which is able to provide the best solution for us, and we pay them for the service. But then we don't waste our time in things that are not core. We try to stay focused, and it's something that allows having your your people focused on their main tasks. Then, of course, all the agility of any small new company is something that we try to develop. And for example, using non-standard is something that we have no problem in doing. Something like, offering delays, offering contracts where we accept to be challenged and say, okay, we do it in this time frame, and if it's not, you pay less. Or this type of approaches that are non-standard in our industry is something that certain clients will not accept, but certain clients will be happy to accept. And the world is changing. Even in the most conservative industries, you have new generations of people coming, and they're used to see things in a different way, and they want to have an impact. They want to participate. So even when they are clients, we can adapt very quickly and use a very structured, conventional way of managing a project to something where, we have weekly meetings, but the weekly meeting is not every week. It's 3 times a week if we need, anytime you want, or we have a platform where we can share things and people can just take control and try things. So there are lots of different ways of working that can be deployed to any service. And sometimes it's not easy to convince clients and get the right response, but sometimes it is. And we have been surprised by certain very, very good responses that we had from certain clients that we thought were very conservative and actually are not, are very open to changing things. And so the operations that we have at the moment are, I would say, global. We are still a very small entity, but since today, it is possible to do things anywhere. So we are working regularly. For example, in Australia, we are going to open an office, well, next month, this month, maybe in April, if we manage to finalize everything in Australia, because we've been able to somehow really shake up the offer of service in certain sectors, being fast, responsive, and deploying quickly new ideas to solve specific problems. But we work with data and clients from all the continents. We took risks as any new company, any new startup. And for example, we started saying that, well, it was 3 years ago, that we could support operations remotely using satellite internet connections and sending a server, a machine somewhere, and controlling it remotely without having someone in the field close to where the data are acquired. This has big implications because sometimes we go to places which are very far, very remote. So it's complicated, it's time consuming getting there. Sometimes it's very dangerous. We operate in certain areas that are difficult from different reasons. So we might have to send someone on a barge in West Africa or in the desert in a difficult country. And the fact that we can provide the most expert support remotely really changes things completely. You can have a better understanding, better analysis, better decisions without the need of sending someone who has to stay multiple weeks. And sometimes you need these skills maybe 10 minutes a day. And then you need someone in the field, but someone who can also do other things, and not someone who is a very specialized scientist who has to spend 2 months in the field, and maybe in 2 months is really useful for 4 hours. So that's something that, and finally they don't go. So finally the best people will not go to the field, will not spend 2 months in the field, or in a crew, sleeping in a tent or on a barge, just to give 2 or 3 times in a month some useful advice. It's much better to be able to control a machine remotely and do things. but then the problem is that then you need sometimes to work at night. You need to work in a strange hours, or you will get a call and something is really strange, and you will need to jump onto certain processes and data analysis and solve a problem. But so we started 3 years ago doing, for example, this type of remote support, and we borrowed ideas and tools that are used in the global seismology, the monitoring networks that are deployed everywhere in the world to monitor earthquakes, to process data, to use systems that have to be very robust, because these systems are used, for example, as an early warning for the tsunami alert. So these systems, they have to work. You can't say, oh, it works, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. So there are things that have been thought for 40 years by researchers and scientists, and they are deployed for these applications. It's not exactly what we do, but there's something in the architecture that we could just say, yeah, why not? I think that can work. And we started with projects that didn't have a big impact. So they were not very far. They were in easy areas. So we were saying, actually, yeah, let's do it kind of remotely, but we still have someone in the field in case we need to do something there. And now we are able to do it remotely. And so this is just one of the things that we do. The other thing is we started working in a different way, optimizing lots of things. We were able to reduce the turnaround time for certain projects by a factor of 10. And it's difficult to scale up because we still have quite a lot of work in making it something, let's say, more commercial, something that it becomes really a product. But the process has been studied and optimized for a few years by some very clever people. So we know that we can do it. And we have recently done for a client something, and the email that they sent was surprising, because they wrote, well, in 2% of the time, you've done 90% of the work. And it was a good satisfaction, but we have been able to do it. If we want to scale up now, we need to finish the work and invest more and put all the pieces together in a more robust way. But that's something that can change lots of things. And even if you don't really change completely the turnaround, the fact that you are faster saves you money and cost. So it increases your margins. And but we lost projects. We very often work with tenders, so we have to make a proposal, describe the work, the type of result, the experience, and the timing, and propose a price. And we lost some projects because clients told them, "Oh no, you can't do it so quickly. It's impossible. You're not doing the full work." We say, "No, we are. Yes, no, this is what we do." And they say, "No." So we lost the project. But still, we have also done, projects for major clients who give us feedback. We track the satisfaction of all our clients. We are not a B2C with million clients, so we have a small number of projects per month, so we can really track the details of the result and the satisfaction for every project. And we have done it in a very systematic, very analytical and scientific way. So we have some very standard way of asking things. We designed our forms in a way that they are fast to fill, modern, 5-star to 1-star, this type of things that now everyone understands. It's like when you give a review on TripAdvisor. So, and we track, we analyze all this. We use it for a continuous improvement, and our scores are really extremely good. It's surprising, actually. It was surprising for us. We set certain objectives, and the objectives now look ridiculously low with respect to what we get. But I mean, as you know, starting a company, starting a business is one of the most complex things that you can do, because you need to work on 10 different fields at the same time. I mean, you can be excellent technically and just fail because no one knows you, or everyone knows you, you're excellent, but then you're not profitable because your costs are too high or your prices are too low and the market doesn't want what you want. So there are so many things that have to match. And then you realize that managing people is might be the most challenging thing for you, because maybe you are very good at solving, technical problems and project problems, and very bad at people problems. But then you can't do anything if you don't have the right people, and if they are not happy, if they don't work well. So there are so many things that have to go together, and then as you grow, the complexity just grows. And at the beginning, you can try to keep everything on your desk, and you just work 18 hours a day, and you manage to do everything. But then it grows, and it's just not possible anymore. So those of you who have seen this understand that it's something that can really eat you up.
You wouldn't have predicted all this complexity. It's only after jumping in the the river or the ocean, we realize that okay, we just don't need our hands, we need our legs, we need everything.
Yeah. Yes. And then every time there's a new problem, not a new problem in a category that a new problem that you didn't expect. It's like it's always like not a shock but a surprise. And then when you think and say, okay, yeah, actually yes, that was easy to predict. I mean, we could see it coming. But and every one of us probably functions differently and sees things differently. So, and the way you get your information and you take your decisions can be very, very different. The main regret is that I think reading and studying more on domains that you didn't even know before is something that you should really force yourself to do. You should really, I think that I should have done it more. I had time at the beginning for a few months. When I started, I was just thinking and planning, and I was doing things. I was trying to work with the first client, etc. But at that time, I was studying and reading books and trying to find. There are so many resources today, so many free resources. Even if you want to start and you can't afford buying books, for example, there are so many resources. But then what starts missing is the time to do it. And last year was just crazy because with COVID and the downturn for the energy industry, we really had to refocus and create new opportunities. And we were eventually we were very successful in growing the sectors that had no real impact from the downturn. So finally, we continued our trajectory. We managed to grow by still like 40% last year. And when you break down and you see from where your growth was coming, it's like we managed to adapt and anticipate certain things. And it was quite impressive because for different reasons. I mean, even personal reasons. And last year, in really at the beginning of the year, my father passed away, and I was in hospital for a while, going back to Italy, and the COVID arrived to Italy very early. It was the first country after China that had a big first wave, and I was going to the hospital for a few days, and we started seeing that they were closing the hospitals and restricting the access, and then Italy had the first spike was very severe, so they started imposing lockdowns, and it was like we were reading about the lockdown in China, and everyone was thinking, "Oh, it's crazy. This is the Chinese way of handling things." But then when we read, "Oh, Italy is going to lock down Lombardy, which is the core and the earth of the economy of Italy," and they decided to lock down the region, everyone thought, "Okay, what does it mean? You can't leave home?" And now we are all used. It's like it's only a year ago, but and I started searching for the COVID data and the infection data, And then at a certain point, I saw what was the delay between France and Italy. And I went back to France, to the office, to the main office, and I told everyone, guys, in 2 weeks, everyone will be at home. And they told me, what are you talking about? And I said, we won't be able to come to the office. So everyone takes a screen, we move the workstation home, we will work from home. And people were telling me, you crazy? And then it was funny because I told them on a Friday, I told them, okay, today everyone brings the workstation and the screen at home. And we start working from home from Monday. And the government announced the lockdown back on the Monday. So we were, ready, prepared. Everyone was installed at home. We had no disruption.
After how many days of your prediction?
So the delay between France and Italy was about 2 weeks. So
2 weeks.
And we prepared it. We installed all the network tools that we needed, and then we continued working basically without any disruption. And that was, some form of luck, being able to anticipate to that point. And then it wouldn't have been a problem. We could have, done it just a week after. But we saw things coming, and we started, for example, one of the things that we did was we had submitted certain proposals to clients, and just a week after, we sent a letter saying, okay, the situation is changing, we are offering you this discount. And it's something that you do in certain industries, and it's normal. You just check on a website and then you get an email saying, we offer you a discount, because it's their standard practice. But in our industry, it's not common. It's no one is doing it. The prices are something that there are magic. I mean, Vishal, you saw how prices are made in big contracts. You have magic formulas and global strategies, and it's, no one knows exactly how they are computed, but the global sales manager and we just sent an email to the client saying, okay, by the way, if you want to do it now, if you sign now, we'll give you this discount. We adapted prices, we changed things, and we started chasing projects in other domains. For example, geothermal is something that requires some of our services, exactly as the oil and gas industry requires some of our services. But geothermal is a much cheaper industry, so the margins of our clients are much smaller. So of course we cannot sell the service at the same price, and it's a bit difficult to justify the fact that prices are different as a function of the client, of course. But some of these clients, they understand that certain things are done in a way which is maybe simpler, maybe faster, maybe with a lower priority, and they get different prices, lower prices. And what we are able to do is, since we work in critical projects, very important projects, the entire infrastructure is it's common. So we need funding to allow to use certain, hardware, software, to train people to be able to have certain things. But then this is something that we have, and it can be used for everyone. So adapting, of course, to these changes is something that requires agility and this type of it's a bit of a buzzword, but it is true that in a small organization or in a new organization, when you have less of priors and rules and things that have always been done this way, you are able to adapt things and adapt much in a much quicker way. So and in a crisis, obviously there are always opportunities, as everyone is saying, but it is true that we managed to convince certain clients, for example, that certain solutions which maybe seem a bit non-standard can be used, can be adopted, because it's a moment of change for everyone. And certain industries which are very conservative are conservative because they are extremely afraid of failure, because failure can be really catastrophic, because there are huge investments, and and you can have massive losses if something doesn't work. If something is wrong, the consequences can be really catastrophic. So they developed a very strong allergy to failure and to change. But in a moment when they are under extreme pressure on efficiency and prices, they are more open to get new ideas, to change. Even just changing a contractor is something that in certain industries is very difficult to do. Everyone is locking up everybody. So you started doing a service and they will just buy it because it worked last time. So I don't want to change, I want the same. Even if maybe it's 3 times more expensive than it should be. And there are certain sectors in which, as you know, the price is not any more linked to the value. I mean, sometimes you buy a brand, sometimes it's just that you think you're buying your peace of mind and you will get something that it will be okay, but then maybe you forget why you are paying that much, and maybe there's no reason to pay that much. And when you come as a challenger and you offer a service which finally is the same, and it's faster or it costs less, obviously there are opportunities to develop.
I think Inder has a question, please.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So actually, I have a question that if you have to explain your project in few words so how you can explain it?
Yeah, so yeah, very good point, because so the initial project was to do more with existing data, was to be able to extract more information from existing data. And this is still something that we are able to do. But the actual implementation on the service side has been doing the same thing or better in a much shorter time. So this is something that can be adapted to many other different applications. Our field is a very specific technical field, which is processing seismic data for the exploration of the Earth. But it can be to many other fields where people spend a lot of time, a lot of money in processing data to get some information out of the data. And sometimes there are bottlenecks in the process that makes it slow or expensive. And sometimes rethinking the software, the hardware, the process can save you a lot of time. And there are so many applications. So there are companies that are specialized in, for example, analyzing all the phone calls in a city, in a mega city. If you imagine how long it takes to analyze all the calls and the text messages sent, I don't know, in Delhi in a day, you will be surprised of how much time it takes a big computer cluster analyzing this data. And the fact that they cannot run this analysis 3 times a day because it takes too long. And it's just one of the applications. But now, I mean, with all the sensors that are being deployed everywhere, the fact that everyone has in the pocket a sensor of vibrations and lots of other things, it's incredible how many things will be possible, how many sensors we'll be able to deploy everywhere to measure everything. And if anybody has an idea to be able to process this type of data in a better way, extracting more, there's certainly a huge business to set up. There are lots of people probably working on it, but so what we have done, in a few words, the project was there are lots of people acquiring geophysical data and processing this geophysical data to understand the Earth, either to find resources, mineral resources, oil and gas, water, whatever. And it's a very well-established market with strong players, big clients. It's something very difficult to get in. But if you have ideas and you can do things well and faster, there's space to find your niche. And I don't know if it answers the question, but if I have to say if I have to say,
I used to explain it, it's like ultrasound of the Mother Earth to find different kind of babies.
yes,
So it explains to everyone like in a very simple language.
yeah, we put sensors and we try to see what is underground.
Yeah.
And there are lots of people doing it. We may not be the best in the world, but we are certainly among the fastest in delivering things. And we have been very often targeting major contractors and getting very often.
Vishal sir, can you explain it in Hindi in 3 words?
Yeah, I'll explain it later maybe. No, it's very similar to the
Okay.
old photograph. The old photograph, the negative, and then we used to wash it to
Okay.
get the picture out of it, right? So
Okay.
the geophysical data is very similar in a 3D sense. And that negative to positive creation is not one step here, it's like 10 steps. And whoever does it faster, is the winner. So Claudio is saying that they can do it faster than others.
It might take a couple of years and cost a couple of millions.
Claudio, you did mention,
yes.
yeah, you did mention that you made 40% revenue, like increase in revenue last year. So how did you manage it? It was through discounts, extra contracts. Like, how did you manage that?
Yeah, we are growing our base of clients. We are getting more contracts with more clients, and we focus a lot on the service quality. And one of the things that we get is clients do come back. So we have clients, we do a first project and we know that we are good, that they like what we do, and that they very likely will come back. So it's very important for us to grow the client base and do work with more clients, show them what we are able to do, because we have a very good rate of clients coming back. So last year we had a growth in sectors that we were not really exploring or developing before. So in practice, what we did is we really searched actively for opportunities in different applications out of the main core of what we do, which is energy and mining industry. So we started looking in infrastructure, in monitoring, in engineering, geothermal, and we pushed to develop these markets, adapting the offer. Adapting the offer means a client was, for example, saying, I have a project, but I can start the project only after this step has been completed. And I cannot complete this step because the contractor is not doing it. So we told them, we'll do it for free if then we work together on this other project. So we've done something, it solved their problem, it costed us a few days of work, and we unlocked the situation. So then they could do it. And we also had another case where a client wanted to acquire the data with one of our partners, and they got stuck because they didn't have anybody who was able to go to the field because of all these travel restrictions. So we told them, we'll send you 2 people. We'll send our people to help in the acquisition, so that we do the acquisition. We charge you, let's say, nothing or very little for the work of these 2 people. We'll just replace the ones that you don't have, but then we do the work that comes after. And it's, again, now we are in a situation where, again, there are projects being canceled because people are not able to move. So we try to help our partners. If things are in our regions, we can say, okay, some of the people that are working with us, we'll lend them to you so that you can complete your operations. And actually, it's really, it's different companies. The relationship is purely based on trust and friendship, but we really value it a lot. And one of our partners is someone who once told to a client, he is my brother. He's like my brother. We were together. We were together since 50 years. They say, I was not even born, but this way of working, of saying, finding partnerships and we try to think that if something that we do can have a beneficial impact to our partners, we are ready to bear the cost and the effort. We have been also very disciplined on the financial side. So we try to really look carefully at the cash flow, at the all the financial terms that will make finally the operations successful. So, but in particular for last year, it was a big effort in chasing opportunities, going around and targeting a specific operations and clients that were less impacted by the downturn, and trying to propose alternative services and unlock situations. And of course, it's a very hard work.
I'll interrupt. Sorry, Claudio, I'll interrupt you here. So you had a strategy to deal with COVID, or you went with the flow? So you built a strategy proactively, or you just took things as they came? Because if others were finding it difficult to send people to get the jobs done, but you managed to get the jobs done.
We try to anticipate all these type of things. Of course, there are things that we cannot control, but right now, for example, we are supporting certain operations in a very difficult country, very high security country, and besides the very challenging situation due to conflicts and these type of things, there's COVID, and for example, traveling became very, very complicated. But it makes a difference if you freeze and you wait, or if you say, well, this is the situation, we cannot change it, we need to adapt and we need to do things. We need to do what is required to do. So, for example, I had twice or 3 times to quarantine. So many other people would say, no, I cannot go because then I will have to stay home 14 days. And we say the difference is that we can get the things done if we are prepared to do it. So I take the PCR, I don't know how many PCR tests I've done, but I take the PCR test, negative test, and then you can travel. And then you need to rebook your flight 10 times, and you will need to take strange routes. And for example, once there was an opportunity to have some discussions, some meetings in a neighboring country, which was a green country in that moment, so very low cases. So I thought, okay, I just go there. So I do the work there. I meet these clients, and I spend 10 days. So then I can go back to the UK without being quarantined. So I will be able to work and keep on working normally. Then the last time there was no other opportunity, so I had to move, and I came, and 10 days quarantine. And of course, it's these restrictions sometimes would stop the operations. But now, I mean, every crisis will really select those who can adapt and those who can't, and just wait that it's over. The problem is that, now if you just wait, we never know. I mean, everyone is saying, yeah, by the summer it will be finished. But again, just look at the numbers. Just look at what's going on. How many people are being vaccinated? What's going on? What are the cases in the hospital in Europe? It's not going to end in 2 months. So we'll have maybe another year of a difficult environment. And if you wait, many companies are just bleeding cash. They are trying to wait. They are trying to.
Yeah, you lose the opportunity also.
Yeah, it's also, I think, in Claudio, your case, that flexible work culture, that is probably happened because, you are running a startup or a small company. Big companies have so many processes, there is like so many levels of approval that it will take like 6 months, 1 year to just change a process. Just one process maybe. But in your case, you had that flexibility to take that decision within 1 day or 2 days, or, just talking to maybe 5 people, that's it. So that's also, I guess, one good thing about startups and all, because when we're building, it's all about a small number of people with whom we can make decisions. So decisions are very fast. And I think with your story, I could see you were a very quick decision maker that, okay, you know, well, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this.
Yeah, it's yes, that's one of the points, and it's also one of the pitfalls, because I mean, as you know, you have to take so many decisions every day, all day, and you start mixing very important things that require, you know, getting information and data and having a very informed and strategic decision with things that you can decide like this, and well, if it's not right, it doesn't really matter. And I think this is one of the things that it's difficult for everybody, but when you spend your time in analyzing and taking decisions which have an impact on what you do tomorrow and next month and next year and other people, it's I think it's one of the typical pitfalls for everyone who is starting an activity.
So many decisions, you know, it's a decision fatigue kind of.
Yeah.
Every day.
and we tend to have the pride of taking decisions and deciding fast, but the good thing is when you decide fast and right. So, and very often you need to analyze things, and what is very difficult is you know, prioritizing things, and I still find it very difficult. I have a natural tendency of saying yes to lots of things, and but then it's your natural inclination. It's how you live and how you enjoy things. You know, enjoy exploring and doing lots of things. But then there's a moment where even if you work hard or harder or super hard or triple hard, you can't do everything. So there's a point where you really need to analyze and besides, you know, deciding things, choosing what you want to do and what you don't want to do and what you cannot do, and staying focused is really hard. And prioritizing, you know, the thing that everyone sees like urgent, important, and the matrix, and what you do and what you don't do, is something that you tend to forget if you don't think every day that no, this I cannot do, this someone else has to do. I cannot even read this.
Even making that matrix, you know, every day can take hours. So sometimes we think, who will do so much? Let's just, you know, do as things come.
And and even if it hurts when you have an opportunity and you just turn it down, because especially when you start, it looks like, you know, every opportunity you need to jump on it, and lots of things seem very important. But I think one sign of the maturity is when you start saying, okay, this is, it could be a good job, it's a new client, it could be good, but no, we need to focus on other things, because otherwise it will be too much, we won't be able to do it, and then it takes time. And so there are lots of things. I read recently a couple of books on decision bias, and some of those stuff are really illuminating, and because you recognize immediately yourself on how you took certain decisions and why you made mistakes. Everyone, I mean, everyone who created a company, a startup, or runs his own activity as a consultant, or makes lots of decisions and makes lots of mistakes. And sometimes when you see how much studies have been made on the decision bias, and the fact that how you decide things, and the fact that you are biased by so many things and under so many angles, that sometimes you really need to have what I do. Finally, I have a very simple classification in mind tool, which is really important things and everything else, because otherwise I started having very complicated way of handling the information and taking decisions, but then it becomes too much. So it's just that I have a red flag that when something like that happens, okay, that requires attention, and certain clients, because they are important, because you look at we really look at the lifetime value of a customer. So how much and how beneficial will be this relationship in the long term. So, and you know, there are certain red flags, and then you know that is to be done, and everything else, well, can wait tomorrow, can wait next week, can be delegated, but but there are certain
One
things
last, one last question to you. There is this skill, communication skill, and in my experience, and I have seen a lot of people, it's very underrated till you get into a situation where you realize that okay, your communication skill is becoming a hindrance to this deal closing or whatever the next step is. And somehow I see in till college or till, let's say, high school at least, people are not so much learning this skill, and when they get to their life, especially with promotions and all, convincing, negotiating,
Yeah,
this communication skill becomes very, very important. So do you have any comments on this?
I totally agree. I think it's I mean, when you look at why company and why initiative fails, there are lots of very valuable things that fail because they are not able to communicate, not able to convince, and it's, I don't know if it's general, but for example, in Italy, in school, no one is teaching you that how important it is. There are other places where I discovered in the UK from the preschool, kids, they have a speech in school to the other children. It's like okay, what, really, you start early, but you really see when you work with people from different cultures and coming from different education systems, you really see that some people are trained to be able to present and convince, and some other people are not. And also the negotiation that you mentioned is something that in certain cultures and in certain countries it's nearly not socially acceptable. So everything is fixed. You can't discuss anything, even if everything you do during your day is a negotiation. So there are so many negotiations that you have with your kids or with your partners, but you, for example, negotiating costs and prices is something that, for example, in Italy, it's, maybe it used to be, but now it's unless you are in business, or you don't do in the normal life, you never do. It's like you want something, there's a price, that's the price. And there are other places where people will negotiate in the supermarket. And I lived for quite a long time in the Middle East, and yeah, there's a price. Maybe they write the price, but it's not the price. The price is the one that you mutually agree with the seller. So communication and negotiations are I think they are very important skills in life, and really fundamental if you want to run a business. And it's something that yeah, I think there's something that depends on your personality and how extrovert or introvert you are, but there are lots of things that you can learn. And I think, for example, again, studying negotiation is something that in for example, probably you do in business schools, even if I have not attended any business school, but it's something that it's very important. So I bought some books, I read some stuff, I took some courses just to also to understand the negotiation strategy of the buyers, because sometimes we just say, okay, this is how long it takes, this is how much it costs. We don't have much room to change things, but you will see people trying to negotiate on the other side. So you need to at least to explain why, well, this is the price. It's not, I mean, either I do it for free or this is the price. But so it's something very, very important, and it's very important to communicate and explain what you do and be able to, yeah, to convince, for example, someone that it's the right solution for them. And the opposite pitfall in startups is that you see certain startups and they are communication machines. They have nothing to sell. They don't have anything, but they are extremely good at communication. So they look brilliant and huge, and they count their success based on the number of likes on the social media, and that's also a pitfall because it's becoming a metric today, but it doesn't really measure the business results. So it's very important, but if you decouple it from the what's the product, what's the service, what are you, from the essence of what you are doing, it becomes again something that can make you survive and can help you getting funding and making you well known, and maybe for the next startup that you create. But it's not enough. So it's necessary, but not not enough.
Pretty much like a like a dish which has 10 ingredients. We need all in proportion so that the dish is liked by everyone. If one thing is missing out of that, little bit up down, then things can go like haywire almost. It depending on what essence is missing though. So I usually say it's like product multiplied by marketing multiplied by sales is actual your true metrics of how successful you can be eventually. One thing is missing, the other has to shoot up so that that multiplicative factor.
Yeah, it's I never thought it that way, but it's true. It's true. It's very difficult to find the balance. And then the other thing is once you get to successful, then you can just crash on the fact that you cannot have the production which is needed to deliver. So it's very complicated, as you know.
Okay, Claudio. Anyone else who has any maybe last question, or we can end this? All good. Okay, thank you, Claudio, for your time. It was nice.
Thank you very much.
Meeting you virtually.
Nice
Good
seeing
night,
you. Yes.
everyone, and have a good evening, Claudio.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Thank you.